and Bradley and Ordor with 101st Airborne Division looking at what is the first concentration camp found. Here is scenes from inside, and then the oven in Dachau with a very low ceiling to compress the gas. When this stuff was seen, nobody knew how to explain it. Like Dick Winters, you got to come see it. I can't tell you what it is because I don't know what it is. So this re-inflames the passion and the vigor to get the war over. These I threw in. You guys, forgive me for saying this. The Dutch countryside is beautiful. The city I need not ever visit again in my life is Amsterdam. I just did nothing for me, didn't like it, except for the Anne Frank house. The whole thing sunk into the North Sea. I wouldn't care. I just hated it. But anyway, this is the Anne Frank house, and this is the stairway, if you read the book, where they climbed up and hid, where they knocked over the book and they were eventually found. And this is the oak tree that grew over the window that she writes about in the book. So I threw that in there for Anne Frank there at Bergen-Belsen. It can remain. The rest of Amsterdam, you know, good riddance. All right, so anyway, not a big fan. Sorry if you love it.
Beautiful and talented Mrs. Melega?
That is the beautiful and talented Mrs. Melega, yes. Yeah, because if I was in that picture, it would be like a giant black blur, and you wouldn't be able to see anything, so yes. And she wanted to go there, so I'm like, all right, I'll go to the Anne Frank house, but then we're leaving. No, it's going to be fun. And I'm like, I told you. Anyway, I hate that place. Like lost hours. All right, good stuff. Some local history here. Bradley's 12th Army is right smack dab in the middle of Germany. And the decision is made for half his army to drive east and the other half to swing south towards Austria. Patton was in the south. They said, George, you run down all the soldiers in the south. They're headed for the Alps. If there's going to be any guerrilla fighting, it's going to be in your sector. You take care of it. Also, George, your assignment is to find Albrecht Kesselring and arrest him. Don't kill him, George, but arrest him. We want to put him on trial. So as Patton goes south, Courtney Hodges goes east to the Elbe River. And the Elbe is going to be the link up between the American and the Soviet Army. Everybody else gets operation or cleanup kind of governmental duties. We're going to, hang out. We're going to process the prisoners. We're going to help out the civilians. We're going to rebuild stuff. We're beginning to stand down. And Bradley's 2nd Armored, the 83rd Infantry Division, under William Stimson, are told to get to the Elbe. And they want to get there first. So they're driving. They drive 53 miles one day, 56 miles another day, and then their vehicles run out of gas. So they literally get out and they capture German vehicles, like Mercedes, whatever they can find. They find gas, they dump them in there, and they get paintbrushes, and they paint American stars on the side, and they take off in broken down farm vehicles, anything they can find. They call themselves the Ragtag Army. All right, we're trying to get there as fast as we possibly can. And they get to the city of Magdeburg, and they covered 73 miles in one day. And they're on the Elbe River. They're the first ones to get there. Here is one of the commandeered German vehicles. And the Russians are about 30 miles away. Their going was much slower because they were partying the whole time, shooting guns, drinking stuff. Woo! All right, we're in Germany. All right, so, doing the Kratzky and all that stuff. I don't know what they're doing, but they got it going on. And this photograph is kind of out of sync. This is the famous link-up. This guy right here is Captain Edgar Bud Parsons. Edgar lived over on Elliott Road by Phillips Middle School. He died just 2 years ago. He's a good friend of Chapel Hill High School. He was the officer in charge of linking up with the Soviets. He's on the far left here, this guy right here. He was so important 6 neat things happened to good old Bud. Number one, if you go to Washington, D.C. in the National World War II Memorial, if you're looking at it with the Washington Monument at your back, the right-hand side is European theater pictures in brass, and the left-hand side is Pacific theater. The very last one, as you're going down towards the fountain, is the link up at the Elbe. It's Bud. Bud was honored in that placard. Because he met with some Russian officers, and in his words, we had a really good time. He was a professor at UNC. He was flown over during the Cold War 5 times. The Politburo went to the military asking the officers if there was an American that they could trust. So working for President Eisenhower and later President Truman, Bud was flown over to the Soviet Union's 5 different